Enshrouded is a new action RPG with survival elements that recently came into early access on Steam, and I've been playing this a ton lately. It feels like an insane mashup of all of my favorite games, including the exploration of something like Breath of the Wild combined with the crafting and building of a game like Valheim, but it's not procedural. Enshrouded is actually handcrafted with tons of hidden locations and secrets like Skyrim, and the character builds are also very Elder Scrolls with the ability to customize your build as a mage, a tank, an archer, a healer, or whatever you want. And did I mention there's also co-op multiplayer? So when the team at Enshrouded asked me to create a guide for this fantastic game, I of course said yes. This is my guide for the absolute best start you can get in Enshrouded, including the best tools, the best crafted consumables and items, the best NPCs for your base, plus an incredibly unique sword and shield combo which shreds through enemies and looks amazing. Big thanks again to Enshrouded for sponsoring this video, and if you haven't picked it up yet, make sure to use my link in the description down below to get started. After you set up your character, you're going to step out into the world of Enshrouded to start exploring. Your first goal should be to set up base camp at the marked location, but along the way you can pick up some helpful items like this torch. And heading to the left within the first cave, you can blow a hole in the secret area to unlock your first melee weapon, the hatchet. You also learned about the Shroud and how to target enemies. Most shrouded enemies are weak to fire, by the way, so your torch here is actually an extremely effective weapon as well. And once you've escaped the Shroud, you can collect a few more basic items at this first location called Long Keep. Unlocking new locations also grants you bonus experience, so you'll probably hit level 2 this early. And there's also a well here. Make sure to collect some water to increase your max stamina and stamina regeneration, and practice cooking the meat that you collect over at the campfire. Eating cooked meat in Enshrouded boosts your constitution stat, which equals more health, so it's very useful. But with those basics out of the way, you should now set up your base camp. This is going to require building a flame altar from the crafting menu, which costs 5 stones. You can gather stones from nearby rocks on the plains, and communing with the flame after is going to lead you further onto the main quest to find the Sleeping Survivor, one of several NPCs you can bring back to your base to unlock useful upgrades. Before we move on, you want to gather more basic materials like wood logs. You can use your hatchet on trees for this, and plant fiber and twigs from harvesting the smaller trees in the surrounding area. Now using these you can craft string from the plant fibers, then use string and wooden logs together to craft your first workbench. Workbenches will become useful a bit later on, but for now just know that you can repair your items on any workbench for free, which is quite handy. Next, craft a campfire for easy cooking, and your basic tools including the axe and the pickaxe. Crafting your own weapons and armor is also an option at this point, but not required. A shield is actually very helpful though to block or parry, so I do recommend that. I do also like the wand as well for an easy ranged weapon. Unlike the bow, the wand in Enshrouded actually doesn't require any ammunition, and it only costs 2 bones to craft, which you can pick up from wolves nearby. You should also always kill wolves that you come across in this game for meat, because again, you can grill this for bonus health, and you can also grill the nearby mushrooms for bonus intelligence, which is going to boost that wand damage. Finally, before we head out, be sure to have plenty of purple berries, which when eaten give you an active health regeneration buff. You want to use these in between fights whenever you take damage, but let's move on now to our first quest to find the Sleeping Survivor. To get started, head northwest to the broken bridge, which we can't cross quite yet, and take the path to the right to descend into the Shroud. While we're here, kill the few enemies that you come across to collect Shroud spores. You want at least 10 of these, and then cut down some trees in the Shroud as well to collect Shroud wood, at least 10 of these also. We'll use these materials to make some very important tools in just a minute. And once you have those resources, continue north to exit the Shroud, and continue heading northwest, passing the broken bridge on your left to find our first quest objective called the Ancient Vault of the Blacksmith. Enemies here are known as scavengers, and they are weak to ice attacks, so if you made that ice wand earlier, these fights will be incredibly easy. Now inside the vault you'll find your first NPC, the Blacksmith, and gain the recipe for the summoning staff, which also lets you summon other NPCs at your base once you rescue them. Now you can just open up your map and fast travel back to home. A fast travel to bases, by the way, can be done at any time in the game and costs nothing, although you can't fast travel while you're in a shrouded area, so that's really important to keep in mind. Go ahead and craft your summoning staff and equip it in order to summon the blacksmith into your camp. Now eventually you'll be able to craft some really great items and upgrades via the blacksmith, but for now you can simply craft a better fell axe and a pick for mining, which I do recommend if you have those resources on hand. Speaking to the Blacksmith will also unlock the city of Rookwood on your map, which is a great spot to get metal scraps and animal fur, which are important materials to craft these basic tools and weapons. But once you have enough resources saved up, you should definitely use your workbench again to craft those tools that we mentioned, the grappling hook and the glider. Two of the most important tools in the game in my opinion, and these grant you greater mobility plus access to the entire world map basically. Trust me, you're going to be using these two items a lot. You can also craft more weapons like the scrappy sword or additional armor pieces from the blacksmith if you want, but we'll actually get access to much better options very soon, so that's up to you. But now we can head to another very important location called an ancient spire. Basically, it's like a way shrine that's going to open up a lot more of the Enshrouded map for us to explore. So to get there, just head north again to the broken bridge, which is now easy mode to cross, thanks to your new grappling hook. Watch out for this scavenger. Blocking, by the way, always helps with these types of ranged enemies because those projectiles actually can hurt quite a bit. But here you can see the ancient spire in the distance. These are some of the tallest structures in the game by far. And to continue, all you need to do is use your grapple hook to continue on through the camp. There is some treasure nearby. Make sure to grab that while you're at it. And I do highly recommend wands for the early game, as I already stated. Try to find at least one fire and one ice wand, which are effective against different enemy types. Now once you get inside the spire, you're going to come across a couple of minor puzzles, nothing too difficult. Just know that you're always looking for the next teleportation pad to take you to the next floor, and after about 3 levels of these puzzles, you should reach the top to unlock the spire and another fast travel point. So congratulations, you unlocked your first spire, and we're going to use all that height to our advantage by taking out our glider and then sailing due east to the next objective, and that is rescuing the hunter. The hunter is probably the best early NPC you can get in Enshrouded, because with her you can actually craft the backpack upgrade, adding a lot of extra carrying slots to your inventory and making inventory management so much easier. But as I said, just head east around this mountain, and don't forget to interact with the flame shrine for a spark. These items are going to help you upgrade your home base flame, which is going to be very important for progression later on in the game. But generally, you can ignore all of the enemies here and just go inside, avoid a few traps as you head upstairs, and rescue Athlon the Hunter. Also, there's more loot upstairs, so make sure you explore a little bit more. Check those out and collect your loot as well. Now back at your base camp, you can summon the Hunter NPC, and if you haven't done so yet, now would be a great time to actually construct some walls and a roof so your NPCs actually stop complaining about their lack of shelter. To start, you're going to need to craft a construction hammer and then gather as much stones as you can. About 50 stones should do it. Then using the stone at your workbench, you can craft rough stone blocks to build your main structure. These come in stacks of 100, so try to get around 25 stacks or so if possible. Now personally, I like to start with the foundation pieces to set my layout, and then from there, place some of these narrow wall pieces. And don't forget to add windows because it just looks better, especially at night when you see that firelight streaming through the windows. Now our final step here will be to craft a basic flat roof. The easiest material for this is the plant fiber, which is easily got from the surrounding shrubs. So craft those roof pieces and then just lay down the roof on top of your structure, making sure to fill in any gaps. And there you go, your NPCs are now nice and happy. Now for our backpack upgrade, you're going to need a few things. First, you're going to want to use the hunter to craft the drying rack. Then we'll need to make dried fur by combining salt with basic animal furs. Now for the furs, hunting the sheep near your home base is usually the quickest way, though you'll need a ranged weapon for this like the bow or the wand. And for salt, there is actually a mine just to the north of your base, which you can glide to very quickly. There's also a chest here as well, so make sure you get that. And once you have 4 fur and 12 salt, transfer these materials to your drying rack and then just wait a few minutes for your result. You should get 4 dried fur, which you can then combine with some torn cloth and string to make the backpack within the hunter's crafting menu. Since this item is sort of an upgrade, you're going to need to make sure to equip this on your actual character sheet, just like you did with the grapple and the glider. There is also a specific slot for backpacks. Now another extremely valuable NPC for the early game is the Alchemist, which can craft us health potions as well as Shroud cores to upgrade our base. This is another quick rescue mission which you can accomplish by gliding due west from the Springland Spire where we were earlier. You're going to pass by this location called Harvest Homestead and then just keep running up the hill to the Alchemist Vault. There are quite a few scavengers here, so be careful, and remember the Ice Wand is especially effective against them. Now, after you unlock the Alchemist, you'll be able to craft health potions using red mushrooms, purple berries, and water, all of which can be easily gathered around your main base. So I highly recommend you stockpile these potions, especially before we head back into the Shroud where we're going next. You can also craft the Apprentice set here, which is great for mages if you prefer that playstyle. So on to another quest, which you're going to get from the Blacksmith to find the Elixir Well. This location is important because it contains a giant Shroud root, and clearing these away gives you extra skill points. You also face off against your first boss here, but don't worry, it's a fairly easy fight, and the enemies here are only level 3, which you should be prepared for by now. So dive back into the Shroud and head northeast from your base to find the well and take the stairs down underground. Now, if you have one of those wands that does fire damage, you can make easy work of this boss by simply dodging his big attacks and firing off those spells from a distance. Remember, fire works best against these shrouded enemies, and if you have explosives saved up, those work even better. But here you can use your fell axe to destroy the root and get those extra skill points that we mentioned. Now, you may be asking by this point, what should I be doing with my skill points anyway? Well, your path is really up to you. Enshrouded has several options for mages, archers, tanks, healers, and so on, but all builds, in my opinion, should unlock one core skill first, and that is the double jump. Now, this skill just makes traversal so much easier in Enshrouded that I think it's really necessary for every single build in the game. Now, you'll actually need 7 skill points to go up the tree in order to unlock this, so I'd recommend just saving up till that point, getting double jump, and then you can progress your build any way you want after that. We're going to work on upgrading our altar next, and by the way, you should have looted a Shroud core from that fell boss that we defeated earlier. This is all you're going to need to upgrade your altar, so go ahead and do that next. And you'll also want to strengthen the flame, which lets you build more altars out in the wild. This extends your time, the ability that you can stay in the Shroud by an extra minute, and even more important, it lets you enter some areas which were previously filled with the red deadly Shroud. This is going to be important for us to progress further and unlock more unique items in the game. So there is a bit of a list in terms of the items that you need to strengthen the flame, but you should have most of these at this point. The only ones you may be missing are resin, which you can get from chopping down trees, and Shroud liquid, which you can harvest from those mushroom ball looking things that you find all over in the Shroud. So now that you've strengthened the flame, you've actually pushed back the Shroud, and you can head further north to our next location called the Misty Catacombs, where we can unlock a unique shield with awesome stats. Now, make sure to bring healing potions plus a bow with a handful of arrows, because the goal here is to find these triggers, and some of them can only be hit with an arrow fired from the bow. Now, there are actually 4 triggers and all in this dungeon, with the first 2 being in the lower Shrouded area. The first one here is pretty easy, and then the second one you're going to find behind the Shrouded wall. These bugs can be a little bit tricky, by the way. Using the sword as your main weapon here tends to work the best, and make sure to wait for your stamina to restore before climbing on this wall, or you will fall into the lava and die. Heading out of the Shrouded area and upstairs gets us to button number 2. You can just walk up to this one and then push it. Then you can circle back to the beginning and head down to the left side of the dungeon into the Shroud. Unlock or break through this door with your axe, and then head upstairs, and you'll use your double jump to clear the broken bridge. And climbing up top, you'll find button number 3. And finally, the 4th button can be found by swinging across this bridge in the middle of the main room, climbing again to the top, and firing off another well-placed arrow to trigger the final button, then just sprint to the end to claim the unique shield called Pike Mead's Bulwark, which looks amazing, plus has great durability and bonus health. It's a really great item for this early in the game. But now that we've easily cleared Mistberry Catacombs, you can go just a bit further north and west to claim a unique and powerful sword. I'll just head up the hill using double jump if needed, then head to the left just a little bit more to get higher up on top of this mountain, and then we're going to glide down to get a better view of the Shroud below. Now again, usually this is all deadly red Shroud, but the fact that we upgraded our altar and flame means that it's now blue Shroud and we can actually go inside. Go ahead and drop down into the left corner just past the wall and the enemy plants, and you can sneak around the edge, making sure not to aggro anything. And here you're going to find a mysterious gravesite, which anytime you see stones laid out like this, by the way, make sure to dig those up because there's bound to be treasure hidden underneath. In this case, it's the unique sword called Hail Scourge, which is quite good for this early in the game, and can be even upgraded further to make it insanely powerful. To fast travel away, just sprint back up the hill to the nearby house to exit the Shroud, and then fast travel back to your base. But here's where the Blacksmith really comes in handy. That's because you can finally use the runes that you've gathered all this time from killing enemies to upgrade Hailscourge to level 15 with bonuses to blunt, piercing, and cutting damage. This thing is incredibly strong and slices through enemies like butter. But now that you have some solid crafted sets, the best early NPCs, plus a powerful sword and shield combo, you can really do anything you want in Enshrouded. If you've already played the game, let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below, or if I missed any beginner tips, make sure to let us know those as well. Thanks again to Enshrouded for sponsoring this video, and if you'd like to pick up the game for yourself, make sure to use my link down below. But that is it for me. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you around in the next video.